Hi everyone, my name is Victoria, and today I'm gonna be answering the big question of what can human biological and cultural adaptation teach us about sustainability, with my theme of women's empowerment as an evolutionary tool for sustainability. First, the women's empowerment hypothesis provides a final framework for modern sustainability by demonstrating that when cultural adaptations grant women reproductive autonomy, they naturally adopt lower fertility strategies that mitigate the ecological pressures of human overpopulation. Now, overpopulation is a primary driver of modern ecological problems. Stabilizing this growth will be one of the greatest challenges of the big 21st century. I'm going to be hitting three topics today about this, and the first one is the evolutionary roots of the problem. Now we have the myth of altruism. Dispel the demographic transition theory, assumption that humans automatically reduce reproduction to benefit the species or the common good. One of the central ideas in demographic transition theory is that fertility decline is an adaptive response to improve survival chances. Under conditions of very high mortality with expectations of life of 20 to 30 years, five or so births per woman were necessary to ensure continuation of the species. Second, we have selection for individuals. Evolutionary biology shows that natural selection does not favor altruistic population regulation. Rather, individuals act to maximize their own reproductive success. More recently, researchers have been applying principles from evolutionary biology towards understanding fertility, including fertility transitions. This work has sparked by a challenge from the demographer Daniel Vinnen, who asked why people in wealthy, developed countries do not use their wealth to make more offspring. Why do they have the lower fertility rate? He called this problem the central challenge of human social biology, and claimed that it questions the validity of applying evolutionary principles to humans. As it turns out, reproductive success is actually positively associated with increased health within traditional societies. As predicted by evolutionary theory, this still leaves the problem of explaining why fertility declines have mainly occurred in developed countries. And to finish off that topic, we have the quantity quality trade off. People choose to have fewer children because modern environments require much more higher parental investment to make each child competitive. And what does this mean? The time, energy, and resources our parents devote to raising offspring to increase their chances of survival and future reproductive success. In human behavioral ecology, parental investment is shaped by ecological and social conditions and may influence decisions about how many children to have. According to our parent rating number 3, higher parental investment, especially by women, often leads to reduced fertility, as individuals may choose fewer children in order to invest more time, energy, and resources in each one of them. This trade off reflects evolved strategies for maximizing reproductive success under different environmental pressures. For number 2, we have biological mechanism, sex specific optimal fertility. To introduce this hypothesis, it means that this theory suggests that optimal fertility rates differ from men and women due to biological and evolutionary pressures. While men may benefit from having more offspring to maximize reproductive success, women face a higher physical, energetic, and health cost from pregnancy and child rearing. Therefore, women are more likely to adopt strategies that limit fertility when given the opportunity. 2, we have inequality of costs. Biological costs are not equal. Women face significantly higher um, physical, energetic, and health costs from pregnancy than men. Why? Because women have to carry a baby for 9 months, while men just give it to a woman. And because we as women have this nurture self in us that we have to take care of our children, rather when men are seen as the providers and the people that are supposed to bring the money to home rather than in the new society to be a parent. Now we have divergent interests. Because of these high costs, Women biological interests often lean towards lower fertility compared to men. When empowered women are more likely to adopt strategies that limit fertility to protect their own fitness and the quality of their existing children. High investment into real children is not the whole story. Because fertility declines are not exclusively occurring in developed countries. Also, the quantity quality trade off hypothesis is inefficient to account for a particularly striking observation. The observation is fertility declines have occurred in some poor countries, and they're often correlated with improvements in education for women. Consequently, most population policies not promote the woman empowerment hypothesis, which suggests that stabilizing population growth requires a reduction of pregnancy and an improvement of women's education and access to contraception. What does this mean? The more that a woman gets an education, the more that a woman has the tools to have contraceptives and things like this, the more women will not want to have children. Why? Because the more that a woman is educated, the more we want to just take care of our own and be educated woman, right? Now, if you're pregnant, if you're having a child, the chances of you being educated and keep on going with your education, work, or whatever it may be, might lower for you to take care of that baby. For third, we have cultural adaptation and the power of empowerment. Triggering the change. Now, while biology provides the motivation, cultural factors like education and reproductive autonomy are the triggers that allow fertility rates to decline. There appear to be several proximate factors that trigger fertility declines: child survival, parental investment, and women's empowerment, rather than a single encompassing theory. This is not surprising from an evolutionary perspective. More work is needed to integrate evolutionary perspectives on fertility with those social sciences. We have evidence. Note that fertility declines in poor countries are often directly correlated to the improvement in women's education and rather than just economic wealth, because you can have all the money of the world, but not so much education. They don't balance out. For example, Darwinians object to a common notion among economists that people in developed countries are trading babies for durable consumer goods. Since the point of consuming reduced resources is to produce, the more you produce, the more you're gonna consume. And that helps economy, but that also doesn't. Yet economists might have it right if people's instinctive emphasis on status seeking is being exploded by modern mass media. Also, when wealth is inherited, the rich may have an advantage by producing few but well provisioned offspring. The more money that you have as a family, the more money is inherited, the more you can give your children, the more education, the more opportunities you're allowed to give children. Therefore, when in poor countries you don't have that, it's very hard to raise children, and not only that, to spend your energy, time, and everything in them. We have another hypothesis that needs more attention is the idea that people copy fertility behaviors of other individuals. For example, the spread of modern contraception through cultural transmission. So if we see a family having like 6 children, and you see them doing well, and you see how they pay attention to every single children, if we just see just a baseline of that family, other people will say, but then I want to have 6 children, and if they're able to do it, I am capable to do it, which creates this overpopulation because you can think something but you may not be able to do it or apply it in your own life. Biology is assumed to be irrelevant for cultural behavior, and yet such behavior may function as a mechanism in which people use fertility of others as a cue to make adaptive reproductive decisions. Now, answering the big questions. Evolutionary biology provides the central organizing principles for understanding the behavior of humans, as well as other animals. Therefore, it is time to integrate it with the environmental sciences. An interdisciplinary field of applied human behavioral ecology, or Darwinian ecology, is needed to apply evolutionary insights on human behavior to address environmental figures. The Darwinian ecology could help to integrate the biological and social sciences, a separation that interferes in our ability to understand our ecological problems. Such a synthesis could bring value political as well as scientific advances. Now we're gonna do a split. This approach attacks the false human nature dichotomy by showing that our cultural choices, like empowering women, are deeply linked to our biological reality. Evolutionary perspectives provide a direct attack on false human nature dichotomy by showing the continuity between ourselves and other animals. Yet, they also show why stressing individuals and human interest to evoke change is a practical necessity. Their evolutionary perspectives can help to mend the philosophical rifts among environmental thinkers and generate more solidarity, which is necessary for them to achieve their political and science objectives. In conclusion, women's empowerment is the most effective sustainability tool because it leverages the evolved biological trade off between quantity and quality of offspring. Sustainable population growth is not achieved through a species level altruism, but by providing women the autonomy to pursue their own optical reproductive strategy. In less words, to let women do whatever they want to do with their body and the many children they want to have, if they want to have some. And to solve global ecological crisis, we must prioritize the cultural empowerment of women as a practical evolutionary necessity. And this is all, and I hope you have learned that. To wrap this up, is that women have to be led to open up, to not follow the traditional. A woman has to have children. A woman has to be at home. Like that patriarchal view of things. It's more like we need women to be educated in order to know if children are gonna be helpful for them, because at the end of the day, we are the ones that end up with that um, offspring, and also make men be more accountable of the children as well and have that balance of 50-50, because the overpopulation nowadays in the world is really bad, and the way that we're treating children or some people are raising their kids is not the best way.